The reason I started working at the city, it has to do with, well, my mission statement. For me, for the people that I love, and for this community, my intention is to live effectively, to teach and to lead, and to be the rodeo clown. So, in that context, as I've moved through life, I've tried to choose things that line up with that and fit with that. I've been teaching out at the college for probably 7 or 8 years. So I was with the school district, my husband and I ran the food care center, I was teaching at the college. Some of these jobs overlap. I've been teaching leadership out there, and it is so easy to teach in a college if you ever get that opportunity. The people are there by choice. They probably have parents, but I'm completely unaware of them while I'm teaching. It was wonderful, all right? It was wonderful. It was so much fun. 2 years. And I'm on vacation, first vacation I've taken in a long time. There's a lesson here. I went to Arizona for spring training for baseball. It was great. Got a phone call from Glenn saying, Ann, tomorrow is my last day. I said, you said 5 years. This is 2. And so, there it was. So assistant city manager, interim city manager, deputy city manager. That was my career while I was there. And this was the biggest challenge. The budget was looking like we had a $10 million deficit that we had been covering up for about 10 years. The way we had covered it up, and you can do this, you can overestimate the number of vacancies you're going to have in the course of a year. And then we were underestimating how much we were going to pay in overtime to the fire department. And we paid quite a lot in overtime. And they're amazing human beings, don't want their job. So overestimate vacancies, underestimate the amount you're paying in overtime. That's enough money to cover a $10 million budget. And then you move through the year hoping that something happens to cover that. And it had been happening enough to cover that. But one of the great books on leadership is Hope is Not a Plan. So I thought, what do I have to lose? I said 5 years. It's an interim position. I'm going to tell them they have a $10 million deficit that they have had for years and not been talking about. It made them really, really mad. Yeah. And guess who they were mad at? It was me.
Yeah.
So they said, you stole the money? I said, not exactly. I wasn't here when it happened. And I won't always be here, by the way. I don't live inside the city of Killeen. You need a city manager who does. And it was a decision made by the city council that many years ago, and probably a really good decision. And we had to figure it out. We can't keep doing this. It really did make them mad at me. The Herald was mad at me. The city council was mad at me. And that was the hardest thing we had to face. So it turns out to be another way to meet my own mission. So we host things that are about families and about people, and about communication and about happiness. And leadership is really about influence. That isn't what I wanted it to be. When I first became an assistant principal, and this is something that I think you can probably identify with. When I first became an assistant principal, I thought, great, I tell people what to do and they have to do it. I'm loving this. Called and told my dad, and he said, you've misunderstood the job. And he was so right. He was so right. As it turns out, leadership is about influence. And all of that happens through the relationships that you build with people.
Raised in the Killeen, Central Texas area like yourself, when you see someone in a very influential position, such as a superintendent of a school district or CEO or president of our Killeen Chamber, what would your advice be to them in terms of, because you're very much about the community, the people, what we want, what would be your advice to them for somebody coming outside of the area of Killeen to have a big influence on the community?
Yeah. I would encourage them to be engaged. Our superintendent's already been to the Farris wheel, and she was there. Do you remember the occasion? She was there for a clay shoot. Nice people. It's fun people. And Scott and I have met each other. Scott has bought me tea, passion tea, probably 3 times at Starbucks. So you find people and you engage with people. What we know is diversity is something that is good, and so we press it upon people and we teach it. The best way to enjoy diversity is to find someone who's different from you and find out what you have in common and enjoy them.
Yourself.
That's also part of leading me and knowing who I am currently, which changes over time. Y'all notice that for yourselves. The importance of having one is when you're good at what you do, and if you're willing to work really hard and people kind of like you, you'll get all kinds of opportunities to do all kinds of different work. And you have to decide what do you say yes to and what do you say no to. They're two sides of the same coin. And anytime you say yes to something, remember to ask yourself, what have I just said no to? So for me, what it does is I take a mission statement, lay it down on whatever the current opportunity is, and see does that opportunity line up with it, or is that opportunity really something better suited for someone else? And that if you're a people pleaser and you're more likely to say yes than no, you need some way to say, this isn't me, this is someone else. Give that to somebody else.
Yep.
So I think that's what it does. The best way, in my opinion, to establish trust is to make promises and keep promises. Make them and keep them. The third thing they're going to ask of you is, can you help me? Can you help me with my job if something gets hard? Can you help me grow into the next job? Can you help me with whatever it is that I need? And it doesn't matter where you're leading, where you're following. Those are the things that are in people's heads, and those are all relationship skills.